We're going to be working with the equation solving, and so that when I look at doing a square root, is that we undo a square root by squaring both sides. And if I take a look at why that might be the case, if I have the square root of 5, or square root of x, excuse me, remember it's equal to x to the 1/2 power. So if I wanted to get rid of a 1/2, I could square it. And what I do to one side of an equation, I have to do to the other. And notice that 1/2 times 2 equals x to the 1. And what it did is it eliminated the radical. So if I have a square root, you square it. If I have a cube root, because that's 1/3, you cube it. If I had a fourth root, because that's 1/4, yeah, fourth it, okay, in order to get rid of the radical. Okay, so essentially from there, if I square both sides, then I look at solving the equation x is 25. Then if you would check, that would say, is the square root of x equal to 5? Is the square root of 25, that's the answer that I got, equal to 5? The answer is yes, and then it would check. And the reason why you want to check your answers is because remember there is a domain issue, that I can't have a negative number under the radical. So you need to check your answers in the end. So if I were to look at the steps to working these guys, it says, if necessary, arrange terms so that one radical is isolated on one side of the equation. Square both sides of the equation to eliminate the square root. Solve the resulting equation, and then check your answer. What that's given you is a series of steps in order to work problems. That creates always for me a template or a checklist. That checklist is in my head most of the time, but for you, I always put it on paper. If I take a look at the next page, which is a problem which is worked out, that says I want to solve the square root of 3x plus 4 is equal to 8. I make sure the radical is isolated by itself. It already is, not a problem. It's a square root, so I square both sides. So if I square a square root, it kills the radical. And square 8, I get 64. Solve the resulting equation for x. So if 3x plus 4 equals 64, 3x is 60, x is 20. Check the answer. Is it true that 3 times 20 plus 4, is that equal to 8, the square root? Well, 60 plus 4, square root of 64 is 8. 8 equals 8, it's true. So that says you do have an answer, and it is x equal 20. So that's going to be your process.